The definition of conviction is a firmly held belief. Leadership looks different for each person, but every leader has strong convictions that pave the way for how they guide their people. Whether you're an experienced leader, a current leader, a novice leader, or a soon-to-be leader, this podcast is a must for you. Through this show, you will hear leaders share their convictions, the struggles they face, and the challenges they have overcome by staying true to their convictions. Leadership can be hard and it can be lonely. I aim to connect you with leaders who have walked the journey and want to show others the way. This is Beau Vincent, and you're listening to The Conviction of a Leader. Welcome back to The Conviction of a Leader. This is Beau Vincent, and I'm pumped to bring back an old friend and a good friend. Season 1, episode 20, Justin Harkelroad has already been on. We talked about leading with the authenticity, and my man Justin is one of the best at doing it. The man will tell you how he feels, not to get it off of his chest, but to help you. And I'm bringing him back because a lot has changed since this was last time you were on, Justin. It was 11/14 of 22. It's going to, by the time this comes out, it'll be 2 full years from when we recorded the first episode together, and a lot has changed. I'll just remind you who Justin Harkelroad is. Justin Harkelroad started some amazing companies and insurance agencies that he grew and he was able to sell. He sold a follow-up tool for insurance agents. He sold an insurance agency, and then he went into coaching and consulting. And since then, he's created the standard, and I can't wait to talk more and dive more into that with him, but a lot has changed since then. So Justin, welcome back to The Conviction of a Leader, my man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the nice intro.
Dude, I mean, not to mention he's got a beautiful family, twin boys and a daughter and a beautiful wife, and he really does treat his family like the gold that they deserve to be treated like. He is a man that, I always say this, Justin, your stage life can't be bigger than real life. And I will tell you, because I've seen it and you live it, you live what you say you do. And I love that. And you hold a lot of men like me accountable to be better men, because you have the same thought process as me. If you become a better person, you will eventually become a better leader, a better husband. It's not always about, let me go just be a better leader. No, why don't you just be a better person first? Okay. Yep. So you are the standard. What is up with you, man? Let's talk about this. I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah. So lots happened since last year to this year to 2 years ago. So I sold Triumph as well. So we exited the
that's right. I forgot about
studio. Coaching has been the fun thing. So in 2021, so a year before we started talking, I reached out to Craig at CWC and said I miss my insurance friends, and basically said I want to be involved and get back in the game. So I started coaching there, and then still coaching there. And then getting ready to launch the Standard Playbook, which is a passion project of mine that seeps into the rest of your guys' lives. The most, I always say this, the most valuable conversations I have on these coaching calls are when we're not talking about insurance, because the rest feeds into the rest. And I made a post a couple months ago that people talk about, and like I say, it's all connected. That's the idea of the playbook, like giving a roadmap and a method to make sure that we have it all inside of all the areas of our lives. And what we focus on inside of the playbook and inside of my life is body, being, balance, and business, and making sure that we set targets and achieve everything we dream of in all the areas, not just business.
So hit that one more time. Body, balance, being, and fitness.
And business.
Business.
So, nice. So to break it down, body, every day inside of the game that I've played since 2016. So to give some context, I joined a group called Warrior in 2016, and it is a entrepreneurship group, mastermind, if you will, and you must be married, have kids, and own a business to kind of be involved. So the unicorn of stress, if you will, is kind of the way you get in, right? And that taught me the discipline of having it all. And the base foundation, the biggest statement that ever stood out to me that they were saying, Garrett specifically, was swinging singles every day, which I might even talked about this 2 years ago. Like every day, if you hit a single, eventually what happens?
You score.
Every time. So everyone always wants to start with the double, triple, or home run, but the basic shit is how we. I'm gonna try not to cuss. My bad. The basic stuff
All good.
is how we. I'm gonna do it again. Is how we try
It's okay.
to get going. So that was the focus. So body specifically, getting a workout every day, hit your macros, whatever you want to do, fitness related, health related. Because if we don't pay the dues now, we pay them later, and usually later is much more expensive.
So
and
true.
Cuts life short. Being is our connection to God, connection to Jesus, connection to whatever you believe in, or yourself. Making sure that connection exists, and then leaning into it so hard, which I'm sure we're going to get in this conversation, can change your life and change your business. And then balance your relationship with your wife, your husband, your kids, your friends, your family. All of those things could be applicable inside of this. And then finally, business, the thing that we're all chasing, but somehow, for some reason, takes over the rest of our life.
Oh, dude, that's a great comment to end with right there.
Yeah.
So true. It does consume. Why do you think it does? It consumes so much of all the other areas in our life. It can if you're not careful.
I think it's our ego.
If you're not careful.
Yeah.
Ego, yeah.
Money.
Money.
All of those things. Long, big discussion yesterday on a Zoom call I had. Like, if someone questions you and says, "What's your best investment?" Most people, including of the 40 men on this call, we all responded in the same manner. We talked about businesses that we owned. We talked about buildings that we sold. We talked about the return of some sort of thing, and the challenge was, we're the biggest investment ourselves, and the level of us, family, and then our business is how we're going to actually expand. Because the moment that we invest in ourselves, the business grows, right? If we invest in our wives and our kids, happiness exists in the home, which gives us clarity to go work inside the business space. So it's a mission, I guess you could say, that Warrior hasn't seeped into the insurance game yet. So I'm taking the flag, if you will, and I'm going to bring it there through direct accountability, which is what Warrior has trained me for. Right? It's a no nonsense, black or white, yes or no approach to targets.
Wow, so good, man. So, man, so this is going to be a journey for you. This is not something that is just like a business. This is a journey for you. It's been a journey for you already.
It's been a journey, and I don't know which direction it's going to go. Right. So like, even as late as yesterday, there's being shifts and changes to the framework of how we're going to launch. Karina, my wife, probably going to be involved inside the coaching side of this thing, because it's not just male agents. There's female agents that need to have these types of conversations. And I'm not the guy for that. So there's going to be another arm to this thing that I think we're developing now before we even get ready to launch.
Wow. I love that. That's cool. How do you include your wife in something like this? I know that you worked with her at Triumph. Did she ever work in insurance with you? I never asked that question.
For like a month, and then she got pregnant. She was pregnant. She got her license, and then she was pregnant with twins. And there was a point where she had her feet up on the desk, sweating, too hot, too pregnant. And was like, "Can I go home?" Yeah.
You're like,
Don't ever come back.
You're fine. You're like, I'm gonna work and then I'll take care of my family. Yeah. So I think that's huge. So how has she been like with this whole journey? Because since I've known you, you build a follow-up tool alongside of insurance. Then you leave insurance, you coach, you do Triumph. You're at where you're at today. Like, how's that been? Like, balancing the relationship with her, and how have you guys lined up along this? I know she's a big supporter of you and you of her. So I'd love to hear about your guys' journey together through this.
Yeah, I think it's necessary to have the support of your wife or your husband, if you will. You can't scale and you can't do things with certainty if you don't have the support at home, in my opinion. If the home is pushing back, it's hard. And like for us, I had the business when I met her. So she didn't see the initial launch of an insurance agency as scratch and all that stuff, right? And I opened in 2007. I met her in 2008. We got engaged in 2009. But there were many agency purchases. The first one caused a little chaos because there was stress among that. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just figuring it out as we go. And then the next one, when I was going to buy another one, I had to look at her and say, "Look, I know what I'm doing. it's not going to allocate time away from home. Like I had this pre-planned, and here's the game. And she trusted me, and that was good, and it worked out.
Yeah.
Then
Good.
follow-up tool happened. And it was the most stressful 7 months of our lives because we weren't prepared for technology. I never built a software company in my life. I partnered with Mark Mercer. We would be
Yeah.
up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning answering bug questions that we didn't know what the answers were, but we were making it up as we go. And
Yeah.
it was chaos, and we were run down, we were burnt out, and I'll never do another piece of software again in my life. But I learned a lot, right? And she also learned to speak when I have these crazy ideas, to remind me of how I felt during that time, to make sure I don't repeat myself. Um, so we sell, and then we open Triumph, and the vision of Triumph was almost me trying to do it for her, because she's in
Mm-hmm.
the fitness space, and like it's a gym and it'll be fun
Yeah.
and we can do this together. And then the management aspect of employees for someone who never was in that role before, as you know, is difficult. Um, the tough conversations you have to have are not fun ever. And
Right.
if it were Karina's choice, she'd give everybody memberships for free, and everybody get discounts and free swag, and
Yeah. Can't do
we'd
that.
be
Yeah.
bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of friction at the beginning of the launch because I was so
Mm.
used to just get out of my way and let me build, and like just let me make
Mm-hmm.
these decisions on the whim, because that's what I've found success doing in the past. And she was slowing me down, and she can hear this and she knows that. Like it was not
Mm-hmm.
intentional or anything like that, but I had to look at her and say, what do you want to do? What do you want the role to be? And finally we got to the point where she's like, I'm just going to coach and coach classes, and I don't need to worry about all these in or outs. But it was always toe in, toe out with responsibility, where she felt like she wanted to be more involved. And then she would say she would, so we get her more involved, and then it would cause friction for us. It's a very difficult thing to do. Um,
Oh yeah.
and then it's, it's going from the insurance agency where I had, I don't know, 15 employees, but probably 12 of them
Mm-hmm.
were men. And then getting into
Mm-hmm.
the fitness space where 2 of them were men and 25 of them were
Mm.
women. And it was a different management experience for me, and one that I failed at miserably, where I would try to listen to a lot of emotions and try to sit down and become a therapist because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And then I got myself in
Right.
choppy waters, man. Like I started to invest in employees way too much and listen to their personal problems, where I didn't have the capacity and the space to go home and have my wife tell me hers. And
Mm.
it created the worst year of our lives. 2023 was
Man.
absolute hell for us because I was investing in a certain person, a certain employee, way too much, because I was trying to build this person up. And I would come home and Karina would be like, I want you to do that for me. And
Mm.
my response was, I'm trying to build this business. I'm trying to make sure we're profitable. I'm trying to make sure everything's okay. But I lost sight of the most important thing, which is my family. So like,
Mm-hmm.
there was not a time when this started to crumble that I considered, I didn't care what I sold it for. I just needed to get out to make sure I could take care of them. And
Wow.
ultimately that's what led to the sale of it. But the strategic way of doing it was making sure that I sold it to a coach that had been there from the jump, that I trusted fully, that I knew the culture would not change, which was the most important thing to me. Like thinking about all of the
Yeah.
members and all of the experiences would be curated. I did not want to go sell it to an outside buyer and have them come in and just corporatize it. I don't know if that's a word. Just change
Right.
it. I
Yeah.
want it to be the same. And he's done a great job of keeping it going, and he's getting ready to scale to his next location. So he's been set up with for
Oh,
success.
good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Like that's a success in itself.
Right.
And the legacy that you created through Triumph with your wife. And I know the struggles, the ups and downs are uh were not easy, but look at where it's at today. And you know what? I actually believe this, Justin. Sometimes we lose sight of things and think that everything that we do is about us and everything we create is about us and my immediate family. And sometimes it's not. What if you created this just to pass it off to him?
Right.
Sometimes we lose sight of that, or we forget when we're in the middle of it, and maybe God wanted you to build this for somebody who couldn't maybe build it in the beginning but now can take it somewhere, and maybe he was meant to do that, and maybe you were meant to do that part of where you're at today. And I don't think God wants us to go through all the struggles, but I do think that he brings out such great growth from the struggles in our life. And I think that you're now uniquely gifted to help men not make decisions like you did. And you're a pretty tough dude and you can tell people directly how it is. And there's a lot of men out there that just need to hear it the way it is. And I truly believe that. And there's some that need a little bit more empathy, but I think because of your unique path and multiple businesses and working with your wife and putting her first and God first, family second, and the way that you lead your life, I think that you're uniquely gifted to help men, in specifically men in this area. And yes, I know you could help the ladies, and I know a lot of people do love you, and I get that, but I do think you're just so gifted in this area. And I look up to you in a lot of these areas. So
Thanks,
it's
man.
really cool to see, man. So the standard it's coming. Like, tell me where you're at with it today and what we can expect in the future.
Yeah. So my plan is I have every
Mhm.
single person that signs up gets this box because there is an actual hard copy of the playbook. It's 113
Mm.
pages long. They get a T-shirt, they get a wristband, they get a pen, and ultimately it's my vision to create a product that's not normally a product-based business. And even if I look back to the follow-up tool, like my vision at the beginning of this, and Mark, he can listen to this and he can tell you the truth. He pushed back so hard. I'm like, dude, we got to get these custom boxes. Send everybody that signs up a T-shirt, and like and what happens? They get the box, they go to social media, and they're like, what? Look at this! Like I'm part of this community.
Surprise. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
part of this community.
and that's what snowballed us to sell so fast and get acquired by
Mm.
Lightspeed because there was this momentum. And the same thing I feel like can happen for the standard. I want to create a community, a brother and
Mm.
sisterhood, if you will, of what is that? Of support.
Nice.
Um, and that's the intention. So nope, you don't get it. Only I get it apparently. um, but yeah, so I'm waiting on the shirts. That's the last piece. There's 3 levels of the standard. The coaching levels are going to be extremely limited capacity, but they're the bottom level, if you will, is called the boardroom, and we're going to have a 2-hour Zoom call every single month, and we're going to talk real talk, and it's going to be different than any Zoom that you've been on in the insurance space because you're going to end up in breakout rooms with other people you don't know, and you're going to be vulnerable, and you're going to have a conversation, and you're going to come back to the room and we're going to hot seat you and you're going to have your takeaways and then we're going to move on to the next thing. So implementation of strategies is what I desire for everybody.
Mm.
And we make targets and goals inside of all those areas every single month. And we come back
Wow.
and we answer for the targets and goals that we put down. So like there's no way that you can possibly fail unless you quit.
Dude, sounds amazing.
I'm
So
excited.
you developed over 100-page manual, one, like the standard. That is phenomenal. Two, I think back to like my past career, and not a lot of big corporations did this, but for whatever reason, man, at Finish Line when I worked there, in my first store, they rolled this out, this box. They wanted you to take this box and make it like a pizza box in your store. And in that box, they wanted you to put their work shirts, a lanyard, their name printed out, handbook, a shoehorn, because like we were in the footwear business, like get down on your knee, serve somebody and put the shoe on their foot. Um, and they wanted us to build these before our new employees started.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they started, they got this box. And what's funny is you are harnessing something that's never been in this industry, but should be in this industry. And, I've thought so many times, like, I don't have my keys on me, but if I did, I would show you the other thing they did that I should try to figure out a way to harness and use within our industry. But whenever a manager got to a point in the training where they had the authority and trust to run the store alone now, there was something I started to do. I would take the keys and I'd say, Justin, here's your set of keys. Let me explain to you how important it is that you're going to run this agency this store is a $3 million business that you're in charge of from 5 to 9:30 tonight. I want you to take a minute and just think about how amazing it is you've gotten to this point to where somebody is going to give you the keys to a $3 million business tonight. And that was just a small store back in the day. But to explain that to them there is a physical transfer of keys, which also signifies something much deeper that isn't physical. It's probably emotional and a goal and accomplishment. And I love like how you're harnessing all these things that are bringing up some great like memories, and the feelings attached to those are huge, man. Those you're doing good. I wanted to hear more about this. So obviously that's why I brought you on, is because I really wanted to hear more about your journey since then and where it's going to go. Like, I like to hear these levels. So the bottom level board, the next level is what? Boardroom. What's the next one?
One-on-one coaching.
One-on-one.
And then there's another level of one-on-one coaching that involves me coming out to the agency once a year, as well as talking to the staff. So a lot of
Man.
desire with coaching is talk to my staff. And you're in this game, so you can back me up here. Usually the agent doesn't do their job. Okay. So
Yes,
we got on a call.
Being lazy.
We
Yes.
get whatever word you want to say, but they're full of shit.
Yeah. Whatever.
Okay?
They don't want to do it. They're scared.
Yeah. Whatever the reason
whatever.
is. But I have learned to just say no to coaching their staff if they're not doing their part in between the calls, because it is a waste of the staff's time to try to hammer them down on some sort of process that they're not practicing on a daily basis. So when I go to the standard and the new shift happens, I just wanted to make that clear. Like, if you want me to be involved with the staff, I'll come to your office once a year. But you're going to follow through or it's not going to work. And just being more selective with just the real authentic conversations I think need to happen on the front end. So like anybody that gets into the directive, which is level 2, or the partnership, which is level 3, there's an interview process to make sure that you understand what you're signing up for, because
I was going to ask
it's
that.
not time to waste. I don't want to waste any more space.
So this is not going to be all inclusive. This is literally going to be exclusive. Like, you apply if you want to be part of this, or if you find somebody that you think would be there's still an interview process and making sure there's a match between the two. And I think that's hugely important for most consulting and coaching. But when you tend to work with other companies, sometimes they choose people for you.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that you are the best person that's able to identify who's the best person to work with you. Nobody else. And there are certain things you can delegate, but that's one thing that is a little tough to delegate, is delegating who's going to choose to work with you.
Yeah.
So I like that.
And I
like that thought.
There's a lot of lies that people tell themselves, specifically around the other areas that I'm trying to attack. What does my body have to do with my business? Well, how do you feel? Tired? Like shit? How do you think that feeds into your workplace? Do you and something that someone said last night on a Zoom call, like, your physical body is the one piece of discipline that's an example of who you are and what you're determined to do by yourself than anything else in the world.
So true.
So like, you can go buy a Lamborghini all you want, but you can't go. You could go buy a body, I guess, but it's not going to stay there very long. I got to change that, I guess, now.
No.
But all the people who are buying bodies, we know. Okay, just so we're clear.
Yes,
it's very obvious.
We know. We can see.
Your duck lips are obvious. My wife's gonna love that comment. But it's a discipline that's an example.
Yeah.
And
it's funny.
And that's by far
so true.
That's probably the one thing people push back the most about, because we're in the insurance game.
Is their body.
We do some unhealthy things.
We sit
all day.
A lot of people sit all day.
And then we get together and we drink and we eat. And it's bad habits compounded upon each other. And when you think about, does your body affect your business when you go down? Does the lack of discipline seep into your business lack of discipline? The answer is yes, right? Does your chaos at home when you fight with your wife and you show up at the office, your mask is not as perfect as you think it is? And your connection with God, even lately for me, is the most powerful connection that you can learn from, to then go be an example to your team.
Yeah. And it was through my relationship with God that I realized, man, I'm not taking care of my temple, my body. And, I worked out. It was so easy. This is the truth, man. Hard to start working out, but but not really, because I started working out at 13 in a 8th grade workout class in middle school. And then it just carried on. And that was like, I had played some sports, but that was like my thing. Like, that was what I was kind of known for. Like, Beau works out, like in high school. And then somewhere along college, I stopped working out. And after I got married, my wife and I started to work out. So they take care of ourselves together. And the more kids we had, like, we got to third kid, and, oldest is 15, youngest is 6. So we're talking about 9 years of working out straight with no real, stopping. Then the third kid, for whatever reason, I just stopped when my wife stopped working out towards the end of her pregnancy. And I just didn't ever pick it back up until about 2 years ago. Yeah. So this was like, my son's 6. I just said almost 7. So literally like a 4 or 5 year gap, about a 5 year gap in my whole life, 13 pretty much on, worked out majority of my life. And I just had this moment like with God, because like our temporary uncomfortness, oh, is that a word? Uncomfortness?
Sure.
Sure. Our temporary uncomfortness
Go with it.
is worth nothing compared to having your body and the health you could have had. You can't, people don't lay in a bed at the end of their life and say they'll regret not taking care of their body, not taking care of their family. So the areas that you were hitting on is the first two things they're going to regret. They're going to regret not having a relationship with God. And I think God was the reason that through my relationship with him, that he revealed like, hey man, you got to get back to taking care of the temple that I blessed you with. You're only going to have one in this life. So you got to take care of that body. And I love that you brought that into your business, because I hate to say this, but I struggle judging people. A guy that works out is a fitness trainer and he doesn't work himself out. Why would I trust him? So people that want to, take care of my assets and in business, like they should take care of themselves. People that want to lead other people. I think you nailed it when you said you have to first take care of yourself in order to take care of somebody else. I've been saying that for years, man. You struggle with yourself, you're going to struggle taking care of anybody,
Right.
leading anybody.
And they see through that. They see through the lies. And even though they might not say it to you, but they totally see through it. And like the conversation about God, it's just submission to the path and like what's happening, and then waiting for the light to come out of whatever you're dealing with. And like I believe that more than ever after going through last year and asking many, many times, what the fuck are you doing to me right now? And I can talk to God like that. Me and him are cool. And him just saying, you're in it. Like, you made these decisions. Here you are.
Yeah.
But I had faith that something was going to come out of it. And what came out of it was a stronger marriage than I've ever had in my life. And an ability to be more vulnerable. I'm still working on that. We're getting there. I can be as direct and vulnerable as I want inside of business. I am on point, ready to go, ready for conflict, ready for confrontation. I seek it. When I go home, I'm a little bitch. Okay, I don't want to make my wife mad. I don't want to upset her.
You've done enough.
I'm scared of the repercussions if I do so. Like, that's just the reality. But the truth is, she feels closer to me when I'm vulnerable, when I am being real, when I am upset.
Yeah.
Like, if I do have a breakdown, she'll come out and say, I felt more connected to you during that than I do when you're the tough guy and you're being the leader of the family and all of these things. Like, because she doesn't get to see that, or she didn't get to see that until I started to break down those walls.
Man, so true. I think that I've struggled like personally the most is that I put so much focus on being a better man and being a better leader. Like, through becoming a better man, I've become a better leader. And then I have to remind myself that, man, like, you need to show that love, patience, like you do at work for your own kids and wife. And, that's where I've struggled the most, is bringing that home. And I think my wife would say I'm too hard on myself. She's said that before. Like, I'm actually much better man than I sometimes want to give myself credit for. But the truth is that I also see the man that God created me to be at the same time. And like, that man has more patience than me. That man is more loving than me. That man works harder sometimes when he doesn't want to. So I can see that man of who I was created to be. And there's a gap between where I live today and where I was meant to be. And there's times and glimpses where I'm living that man. There's times where I'm still striving to be him. But I think because God has given me this clear vision of who he wanted me to be and created me to be, that I have found so much more fulfillment in what I get to do as a father and a husband and a business leader. And the fulfillment is not in the paycheck and the zeros. It's not in the business ownership side. It's literally like feeling like I'm doing what I was meant to do. And I tell you, Justin, if the standard is going to help people find that, there's nothing more fulfilling in life to feel like, I literally feel, Justin, like I was called to run an insurance agency and have a podcast and coach others. And I found it. And it may not be for the next 50 years of my life, but it is today what I was meant to do. And sometimes we change. Because I would tell you, back in retail, I felt like I was on it for a while. And then I went off that path and I knew that it was time for me to move on. But if you're going to help people find that, man, there's so much value in, Justin, talk about how there's so much value in that they don't even know. about. Like they don't know what they're missing out on, like by not focusing on these things. Like, could you even speak about that? Like these 4 areas that you're talking about, like not focusing on those and the fulfillment they may be missing?
I think most people don't focus because they don't think it's possible. And including
Yeah.
me before I found the whole lifestyle and the way that we live and all this stuff. Like there are, and people will argue, well, there's seasons where you have to work more. 100% agree.
Hmm.
Like there's
Oh,
seasons
yeah.
where it's good. You have
Yes.
to weigh out different things, but that doesn't allow you to forget that you're married. Like it's
Mm-mm.
small little tasks that can fill the bucket of your wife, and you can take the 30 seconds to 45 seconds to write a note in the morning, but we choose not to, and then we justify the decision later that we were busy or
Mm.
all these other things were. In reality, all the wife hears
Or I'll
is,
have time
yeah,
to do
okay,
it
so all these other things
later.
are more important. That's just the reality. So like making sure that we hit these points is the key. The God conversation. I'm gonna get baptized. I don't think no one knows that. So I have been baptized twice. I got baptized as a kid because
Okay.
that
I
was
was
a
going to
thing.
say
Yep.
never.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah,
I
of
got
course.
baptized with Lily when she was a baby because I
Okay.
thought I'm supposed to do that. But I started prayer stacking last July 30th of 23. In the midst of the chaos that was about to ensue in my life that I did not know was coming 3 weeks later, I started prayer stacking. I started doing it every single day. And what you said something a minute ago, like inside of so many prayer stacks, I kept saying, I am trying to figure out what the ultimate version of me is that you
Hmm.
want me to go at. Like, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know, but for some reason, every verse you give me during the day is applicable somehow. So I can't tell you, like, if you're like, I don't know if God's real. I can tell you what, if you have a problem and you open that Bible, you're going to find a
You'll
verse
find it.
that works and you're going to go, okay, maybe something is connected here. Right.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like if I can lead people to just discover that I'm doing my part, because
Mm.
the Bible itself, and I made a post about this too, is the best business book I've ever read. And like
Best.
every day I wake up
The best.
every day and I pick a random chapter. And my assumption of the random chapter is this is something I'm supposed to receive today, and we'll see what
Hmm.
happens. And I
Hmm.
mean, there hasn't been. I luckily have not gotten one of those weird chapters that we all know about, like in Leviticus, where it's a bunch of weird shit
Yeah.
that no one knows what it means.
Like, how am I supposed to take this in
Yeah,
today?
that's a hard
Yeah,
one.
I get it.
Um,
Yeah.
but so far, it's been applicable lessons or takeaways or revelations that I can apply to my business. I can apply to my marriage. I can apply to working out. Like
Mm.
that's
So true.
the temple is what it is, and He wants us to take care of it, and He also wants us to weaponize it to be an
Hmm.
example of what's possible if we use His guidance and His word. So,
Oh,
like to your
man.
point, what are they missing out on? Everything.
Hmm. Well, the most important like part of our life, the biggest hole in your life right now, it could be missing.
You
That I
said
do believe that because what's
it's
that?
purpose.
Yeah, purpose.
That's where it comes from.
I believe that
Yep.
the reason you were created by who you were created by. So I think it's huge to find that, and when you do find it, you find God is what I'm trying to say, and you allow God to start to speak to you through His Word and through prayer. I do believe like there's nothing really like it because to feel like you're speaking to the person that created you or the being that created you, I should say, is huge because you are. And,
Right.
and like it's like who else knows how you tick and act better than the person being that created you, the God that created you,
And
right?
the plan exists already, right? Like and I
Hmm.
wrote the playbook and I printed 100 of them. I was ready to go. I fly out to Dana Point to have my first meeting with my warrior group to talk about the playbook,
Garrett.
and God says, it's not doesn't have enough me in it." I'm like, all right, whatever. I already paid for it, sir.
All right.
And then it kept coming and it kept coming and it kept coming because even in the first playbook I wrote, in the bean section, which was like this last page of the target section, and it said, okay, let's talk about the taboo topic, bean. Like I projected this feeling of we shouldn't talk about this stuff in a business book. And that was
Hmm.
me trying to interject him and what we call wrap the God frame around the business, but it was a coward way out of not being full frontal with what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So I get home, a prayer stack, a Bible stack, a prayer stack, a Bible stack, and I'm like, all right, fine, I hear you. So rewrite the entire thing, making sure being is on one of the first things you approach. And again, if you buy the playbook and you're like, I don't believe in God, I'm like, cool, apply this thing to yourself. That's all. Like, just connect with yourself and
Principles.
figure
Yeah.
out, find some
Hmm.
answers for you. And that's all I want. But if all I can do is share what I feel and what I find, and maybe it connects with you sometime, maybe it doesn't. But I'm doing my part by sharing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate the boldness, and I think like over the years, I've tried more and more to be bold and not to be afraid to speak about my relationship with Christ and God, and to show others the way through. Because I used to think, well, I don't need to talk about it. I'll just show. I'll lead by example, and like that's not enough always. So, you know, yes, they will watch your actions and the way that you do things, but also being able to speak to it is big too. And you know, there's a lot of things that I could like almost. I don't want to say some of these stories that I could bring up. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I think like what I've seen is that God has shown me that if I treat other people how He wants me to treat them, as in like how Christ would,
Mm-hmm.
they'll eventually ask or give me the opportunity to plug my God. And there's times where I start out with it. And I just say, hey, so like a couple of years ago, I decided to offer health benefits to the agency. And guess what I was going to do? That morning, it was a Saturday, I got a text message. Awesome. I've been wanting to buy this Porsche 911 forever, man, like brand new. And I finally made it to where I could probably do it without it negatively impacting my business, my family. And they sent me this like, hey, dude, man, this guy backed out of his 2023 Porsche. I'll sell it to you at retail. Just drive up to the Porsche dealership. And I drive up, I walk around it. I just feel in these kind of times, it's hard to go, you know, those that know Christ, like God, if you don't go to God first and you go to 17 other people,
Mm-hmm.
then you say, maybe I should pray now. Like
Yeah.
I had this moment where I just went and prayed first. I spoke to God first. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of like, hey, remember that this so-and-so didn't really have the money and ability to take off work and go to the doctor. Maybe you should think about that. And I dwelled on it. And I said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to spend more than it would have cost in this car to reinvest in the health insurance for everybody in the agency, thinking that maybe only a couple people took it. And at the time, I think 7 people took it. Now I think we have over 10 people on health insurance in the agency. So it's like, I don't say that to pat myself on the back, but what I do say that is that if I didn't have that relationship with God, I would have bought what was good for me
Mm-hmm.
and only me. And I wouldn't have gotten as much out of that. And guess what? Long term, I ended up getting the car I wanted, just in a different way. Not exactly the car, but the way that God blessed me with it was so like pure and awesome. And I was able to be blessed with the car I wanted from a book of business I just bought. And the widow ended up widow just ended up blessing me for a good deal with the same car, different year. But it's just so cool because I think like what you're doing is like it's what really matters. Like and we lose track that those of you that, you know, I'm just going to come out and be bold about it. Those of you that think that you have a lifetime to make this decision and you'll always have a chance to do it, and that maybe this life is the only life you're ever going to get, I think you're wrong. And I have no problem saying that on my platform, my conviction of a leader, because you know why? I will tell you that you're wrong. And someday you'll find out. And I'd rather be wrong my whole life and find out I was wrong than to think there is no God and die and find out that there is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's a thing.
I mean,
Like it's a thing, and I love that saying.
I saw an atheist comedian. He's like, I don't believe in God, but I sure as hell hope I'm right. Because if I get up there and I'm not, you can be like, shit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So that boldness that has come from putting like that first, what changes have you seen in your personal relationship with your wife, your family, those that you coach? Like I'd love to hear maybe some stories about that.
My wife in 2016, when I started this journey, if you will,
Mhm.
it's a very expensive journey when you get in this game. And as you know, coaching, buying mentors, all of those things can really start to add up quick, right? Hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of dollars 8 years later. And the crazy part about this last one, and like I've been in and out of the game for these 8 years. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, which is fine, which is the best part about it, because they love you when you leave and they love when you come back. And well, they love the money too. And when I said, "Hey, I have this opportunity to go back into Warrior," and there's a group called Savage, and this is what it looks like, and it's the top level, and then I said the price, and she said, "Why would you not do it?" Like there was no question. There was no, do we have the money? There was no, what are we going to do? And let alone the fact that we just sold the company. Like we
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't have a job.
You sold your main source of maybe
Yeah,
income.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now you still had coaching, but yeah. And I remember that price, and it's not a small price. You may not want to share it, but I know, like, when you told me that price, I even thought, holy
And I
crap.
can tell you
Like,
by
but I trusted you though, because I know that you know yourself, and
3
your
months
vision is
in,
pretty
it's worth
clear.
10 times that. Not even close.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and just I would pay that amount of money for the certainty that I have in my connection with God that I've never had in 40 years, by far. Because
I can see it.
yeah,
I know it.
I can say in my stacks daily. I say I am here and I am willing. I have my wall. I tattooed on my legs because that's what I started saying.
What is it? Why don't you, when you get a stack, and I'm breaking this, I want you to tell people what a stack is.
Okay.
Be more detailed
Yeah.
about it. Don't just say stack. I want to hear it.
I am here. I am willing is my power statement that I started saying in my prayer stacks because I wanted him to know
I'm here and I'm willing.
that I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm willing to do whatever you want me to do. And
Mm-hmm.
the standard wasn't an idea at that point. I didn't know what it was gonna look like. I didn't know standard wasn't even in my brain. And then it started to come into fruition, and it just solidified and confirmed that I'm on the right path. And like every single step along the way now is confirming that, including, like you said, asked about Karina's support. Like there's no question at all about what are we going to do next. Like what do you think about this, or are you sure about that?
Yeah.
It is. She didn't ask. She just says, "What's the update? What are we doing? Like what's the plan?" And that, as we talk about a conviction of a leader, right? A leader
Mm-hmm.
is not questioned sometimes. Sometimes it is just, where are we going? And that's what I want from
Mm-hmm.
my family, including my kids. Like I want them to just know that I'm making decisions for them sometimes, but I also
Their
want
best
to with
interests.
their best
Yeah.
interest,
In
including
mind.
my wife. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me making not the best decisions to be very clear on what the best decisions are going to be. And I wish I didn't have to do that. Like I would rather just have
Right.
the butterflies and rainbow approach to it. Um,
Or to read the book and learn from that way versus making the mistakes
yeah,
and writing the book yourself.
which
Yeah.
is
I
what
get that.
coaching and mentorship is for. You pay for the
Right.
knowledge and the failures that someone already went through.
An experience that somebody else's, experience. I love
And
that.
that's it. The stacking
So
is a process
yeah,
that I've been trained
stacking.
on in Warrior. The book that I think I've said to you a million times. It's called Loving What Is.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Byron Katie. It changed my entire life, and that's where stacking was born. But stacking is just a order of questions to extract a lesson or a revelation. So there's many different stacks that we use. Angry stacks, rage stacks, irritation stacks, grateful stacks. So every single day I start my day with 3 stacks. I start with gratitude. I pick one of the areas in my life, body, being, balance, or business. I pick a person, or I pick an activity inside of that area, and I tell God why I am thankful and grateful for exactly what that is. The next one's a Bible stack, where it's a order of questions around a chapter or verse in the Bible. Basically, what did you read? I paste it. It asks me, what do I see inside of that? What is the lesson that I'm extracting from that? What is the biggest revelation I can apply to my life? And then I move to prayer stack, and there's an order of questions. What do I want God to know? What are the 4 things I want God to know? What do I want to pray about today? And what is the lesson I'm extracting from the prayer stack that I can apply to my day today? Like it's a forced journaling experiment that will
Mm-hmm.
change your life.
Yeah.
And
I'll be honest. I used to journal and do that too, and I don't. And I felt this urge way before today. It was, I think, 2 weeks ago, to start doing it again. I followed a little different format, but it was like asking for forgiveness for certain things that I know I need to. Uh, Identifying something I want to change, identifying something I'm extremely blessed to have in my life, like my wife, my relationships, certain very specific, and then one thing that I'm going to do today, an actionable step today. So, man, I love that. I need to get back to that. Send me, if you got notes on that little stuff, send me that. But I've always enjoyed our conversations. I do think you're one of the few people that I think lines up deep down with me. And if I'm being honest, like, there's some people I bring on, man, they line up like leadership business wise, but deep down in the soul, like, there's not a lot of people that line up that can do business at a high level, that also can address people directly. And I think I do a really good job at it. I may at time, I sound maybe a little nicer than you sometimes, but I do I do address it and say exactly what I want to say in the truthful way. But you and we line up. We're two different people, but we
Right.
do it and I feel like I tell people the truth, man. Not like a fool, but I tell people the truth they need to hear. I don't need to tell them I hate your hat because that has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter. Like, so I'm talking about things that are meant from love to help them. And I'm telling them about things that they need to hear. And I was just having a conversation with this right before we jumped on here with a friend, and he may know who he is if he's listening. But I was called him directly out because I love him. And I told him, I said, I don't think you're doing what you need to do, and you know you're not doing it. And you know that you're not having the same results you used to have because you stopped doing what got you here, and you need to get back to that. So, and then you can grow from there again. And I think sometimes we need to take time to tell people the truth, even though you're not so sure how they're going to respond. But that is selfish.
Yeah.
That's a selfish thought to think, I don't know if they're going to like the way I respond. That's selfish because you know they need to hear it. So why not say it?
Yeah. It's the gift that you
Selfish.
give them. The gift of, and that's why I say all the time, people, I am unoffendable. And I read that. Laura Harris gave me that book a long time ago. I don't even know what sparked the conversation because I was never offendable, but she, for some reason, gave it to me. I must have said something. and I also don't care, and I say that with full conviction, if I offend you. Like it is a gift that I'm giving you for you to work through and figure out why you're offended.
Why?
Like, why does that feeling exist for you? If you give me the power to make you feel a certain way, that's crazy. Like Beau doesn't get to make me feel a way. If Beau says something and I feel a type of way, that's on me to figure out why I feel that way and then deal with it. And it's been it's been very difficult. And as I talk about learning to talk to the 25 women employees, I've learned to not say, you make me feel like this when you do this.
Yeah.
It's that you don't make me do anything.
So true.
I feel a certain way. And me and Brittany, even when we clash, we'll say, you make me, I feel when you do this, that and it takes the onus off of them, and I take ownership of that.
Oh, so true.
And it's a life hack for discussions.
So true, man.
Because it takes down the immediate conflict.
You know, I have to slow myself down because I'm listening to what you say, and I totally agree. One of my biggest, worst habits over my life has been to get so amped up and passionate about what somebody else is saying is that I want to cut them off and say it. And that's bad, but it also shows how much we line up with each other. I work on it so hard, especially on this podcast, and I'm listening to you and I'm like, what I love is that you and I can have completely different lives and completely come to almost the same thoughts at different times, different ways. Mm-hmm. But I learned a long time ago is that one, there's been some struggles with my father in my life. And, and I pushed some things onto my wife that I eventually realized it was my father's job to do, that I had convinced myself that was Kristen's job to do. And God revealed to me, revelation that that's not your wife's job. That's a father's job. And whether it's your father on earth or me, God the Father, it's my job, not your wife's job. Mm-hmm. One, two, I started to realize sometimes a lot of times I was seeking other people's approval that I didn't really care about their approval at all. And I realized that it was because I wasn't approving myself and that I was not able to tell myself, Beau, I'm proud of you. And you've accomplished things that you set out to do, which is a weird thing to say and think to yourself in the beginning, is to think. Because when I sometimes sit down and I look and I say, Beau, you had these dreams and goals that God laid on your heart, and look at how they've come to fruition and grown. You wanted to be a business leader. You wanted to have a radio show. Now you have a podcast where people want to actually listen to it and jump on and talk to you. God has blessed me with these things that I have to just sometimes be quiet, sit back and be like, thank you, God, for blessing me with these dreams. And I'm proud, Beau, to you for walking the steps that you knew you needed to do to get there. And it is weird because here is where I'm getting to, Justin, because we're the only ones that can actually validate somebody else's thoughts about you. So, Justin, you could say, Beau, I'm proud of you. And I could say, no, I'm not proud of myself. I know I'm not doing this, this, and this. You could say, Beau, you're a piece of crap. And I could say, no, I'm not. I'm actually awesome. And you just don't see it. So I'm the only one that can validate what other people's opinions and thoughts and direct about me are. So when you understand that, you learn to harness your own mind and brain first, that I have to tell myself, God created me, I'm valuable, and I am great. And I was made to do great things.
Keep going.
And you
There's
can say
look,
whatever you want to me.
First two words.
Yeah.
Like it is
I am.
the I am statement. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm tasked, actually I have homework to record myself saying who I
Yeah.
am at the end of 2025. It's got to be 6 minutes long inside of every core. So body, being, balance, and business. And I'm going to listen to it every single morning. And like, I'm going to, and it's a manifestation or whatever you want to call it. But if
Mm-hmm.
I make a statement that I am going to be X, Y, and Z, and I hear it every day,
Mm-hmm.
I got a much higher chance of getting that.
I
So
think that's huge. That's amazing. So how are you deciding what to record?
a lot of prayers, right? Like it's
In the
it's
future, yeah. Because
yeah.
you're talking about future.
I'm talking about December of 2025. Yeah, I am
Yeah.
235 pounds of muscle, and right now I'm 217 pounds. Like I am
Which is a
running
lie.
a
You're like
7-minute mile.
190.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
kidding.
little guy. Yeah, in marriage, I am the
Yeah.
best husband Karina could ask for. I am a husband who takes his wife on a trip every 2 weeks. I mean, not every 2 weeks, 2 weeks a year. I
I
am
was like, dang.
coaching's going
Okay.
well. In business, I am running a
Yeah.
boardroom call every month that has 150 members who lean into each other and help each other and grow. Like all of those things that are possible. I am someone who doesn't miss a prayer stack every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those things have to exist for us to take hold of them. And like we got to experience last night on our Savage call, Garrett's I am statement, 6.5 minutes long. Incredible. And oh my God, just absolutely amazing. And like when you speak with conviction, there's the key word.
Right.
I believe you.
I love that word.
I will believe you, and I will believe you
Yes.
until you show me the opposite. And then when you show me the opposite, whatever you showed me is what I'm taking you as. And if it's not something I enjoy or want inside my life, bye. And I'm not going to chase you either. I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to pursue you. It's if you show me your true colors, that's the end of it, and we move on. Life is easy that way. People hate it when I say okay, and like my team's gonna hear this. My team at Triumph's gonna hear this. But like there was a point where if you wanted to argue with me, I don't have the capacity to deal with it. So I just say okay. And when they heard me say it the first time, they're like, "You say that a lot to me." I'm like, "I know. Like I don't want to discuss things with you over ad nauseum for no reason. I'll just say okay, so you can be right, and I'll just go around by my life. And if it's my job to correct you to make sure that you perform correctly, cool. If it's not my job, that's your problem. I'm not going to sit here and try to save you from yourself. That's his job.
Right.
He'll pursue you, and you need to listen to him. But okay is my favorite word. I want to do this. Okay. I want to go back to my lunch now. I'm done. It's much easier that way.
Right. So, okay. So the standard, back to that for a minute. So do you have a launch date?
I'm waiting on t-shirts. So I've told myself that I want people to have the box in hand before I'm ready to officially say launch. So I have 100 boxes.
Okay. So you already have people in it.
I have a waiting list. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I was wondering. Okay. Yeah.
So
wow.
I have 100 boxes to deliver. Those 100 boxes are going to be delivered to boardroom levels first. So the idea is, can I get 100 in that boardroom and then expand from there? Obviously, people that go in the boardroom will see the benefit of one-on-one coaching, especially when we start talking about goals and targets. I think before we got on this call, I sent you my monthly targets. Like it.
You did, yeah.
It's an exhausting process of life.
They're very, very, very detailed.
Every 30 days, you set new targets, 4 of them inside of every core. So that's 16 targets a month. And if you don't have them written down and they don't mean anything to you, you're not going to do them.
Dude, it's crazy. So crazy. I love that. It's true though, what you're saying. That's why I'm saying crazy is to write things down. Take that dream, put it on it, make it a goal, write it down, measure it, put a date, put a time frame, hold yourself accountable, right?
And the follow-up question of how do we know this can be achieved? Like if you can't answer that question, then it's not a target. It's a dream. It's hope. I want to be better at this. I don't know what that means. So let's figure out what that means.
Yeah, put a tangible goal to that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm like, you don't need me to say this, and I know you don't. I but I'm proud of you because you're doing what you know you wanted to do, need to do. And I think there's a part that's about you, but I also think it's truly is about other people, and you're creating something that people need because you've been impacted by something that's changed your life, and you think you can really impact people. And I think, like I said earlier in the call, and I've said this quite a bit, is that if you work on just being a better you first, it usually impacts your leadership, your relationship. Man, I've never sat down and prayed to God and read the Bible and thought like it was all about me, and then to realize like it was always about God and about serving His kingdom, and realizing, wow, I'm so selfish sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
when I start to think about I need to work hard for other people as much as I'm sitting here asking about God to bless me with this, and this. And then I'm like, man, I'm already so blessed and I can help people so much more. And I find myself in this position where I want to give more and more. And that's why I continue to mentor and coach and consult. And that's why I do this podcast for free, is put it out, is because I love giving, man. I've learned that when I'm inside of my lane that God created me to give, um, feels so good.
Yeah.
Like to give. And I'm just really a connector some days,
And I'm sure
connecting listeners to what Justin has to say.
the more you give, the more you receive. And
Mm.
there's also nothing wrong with enjoying the blessings. And I struggle with that hardcore. Like there was a conversation that happened, and they talked about the second verse in This Little Light of Mine. Remember that song?
Yes.
Okay.
This little light.
Yep. And
Yeah.
what's the second verse say? Hide it under a bush? No. I'm gonna let it shine.
No.
And the comment
Mm-hmm.
and the correlation to the teachings of the Bible is, if we are living His word, His way, His plan, and we reap the benefits of that because He's blessing us, because He's proud of us and what we're doing. And here's this, and here's this Lamborghini if you want. Like, here's what it is. And I want to display it and I want to be proud of it. I am showing what's possible. I'm not bragging. And if someone, as we say, if they get triggered by me taking a picture of my Huracan that I'm going to get soon, that it, if they are triggered by that, that's their problem. I'm showing you, holy shit, 2 years ago, I never had a dream of this, but I've always wanted this car. I've followed this process. I've listened to what He's told me to do. I rewrote the playbook. I'm doing it this way. I'm doing it this way. And all of a sudden this thing lands in my lap and it's a possibility for me to have. I'm proud of it. And I can let it shine and I can go, you want this? Go listen to Him and see where He takes you. Because that car is badass. This close.
Oh, so I read a book, The Power of Habits, a couple years ago, and actually it was a year ago, August 7th, 2023. And after I was done reading it, and it took me a while because the end note was like August 20, I'm looking at it right now, like 23, August 23 of 23. And I finally took something that had been a dream of mine, not just business ownership, that's been a big dream too, but I said, I had written this reward like, hey, if you work out 5 days a week for a year, you can buy a Porsche. But then I got way more detailed with it through reading this book. There was a Power of Habit. And I wrote down goal rewards, Porsche, lake house in 8/23/23. And fast forward a whole year later, I found the note because I think my iPhone is creepy and it told me to look at this memory. And I read this memory and I was like, oh my God, I wrote that down as a goal. And I did it. And I read it almost to the day, bro.
Yep.
It was so almost surreal.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, I got both of those. And it didn't even take a full year. By July 17th, I bought a we'll just call it a cottage, lakefront, and a Porsche. And it was so much. So most people will say that is all about you. And I can tell you why it wasn't. Like I can give you a million examples of why, but I grew up on a lake. I loved doing lake things with my family, my brothers, my dad. Times were good. Times were pure. They felt good. I enjoyed the body of water that God created. There's studies that show that being just by water 15 minutes a day will lighten your mood and bring positivity into your life. So one, two, I wanted to share all those dreams with my kids. Cause you know what I think about a lot, Justin, is like, if I buy it when they're gone, it's mine. It's not theirs. They say my dad has a lake house, but they're going to say, no, we had a lake
Yep.
house growing up. It's not going to be mine. I don't want it to be mine. I want it to be theirs. And then the Porsche was, I looked up to my uncle. My uncle worked for Microsoft. He was like vice president of foreign affairs. And long story short, he left, started a business. Well, he always drove a Porsche, and I always looked up to him. And I thought, like, that is like the man in business sense, an entrepreneurial man who created two businesses and did a lot of great things. Worked directly with Bill Gates, like in the late '90s, early 2000s. Like, this is the guy that I like kind of thought was what success looked like. And I realized like I was just trying to emulate him to a degree, but also there was just something so calming about that car, right? Huracan, great. There's something there for you. But for me, it was the Porsche. And I think I'm looking at some of these things that I haven't even touched yet, but I said I want to work less hours, but more meaningful hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I'm getting back to that point now, a year later, where if you talk to me at times when I tell you I'm just busy, and it's like, yeah, but when you're busy doing things you love, you're not busy. So I literally, my wife will catch me, and this is where I'm at today, and you'll yell at me for this, so I'm going to be vulnerable with you. Is my wife will catch me after dinner heading back into my office to work because I love working and I love like accomplishing things for other people too. It's not just me. I'm working on business plans. I'm working on consulting. I'm working on my own business. I'm reviewing things. I almost obsess over helping, my business grow and the people within my business and those I consult, that I have to remind myself like, bro, you don't got to work 24 hours for that. Like, I know I don't, I can do it in less hours. And I just, I love that I have somebody like you that understands, like, for real, we don't talk enough, but we do talk quite a bit. And I really appreciate you. Like,
Appreciate you too.
it's really
I
cool
don't need to yell
to
at
know
you
somebody
'cause
like you.
you already realize that you're screwing up yourself, so I don't need to hold
No,
you
I
accountable.
know. I know.
I mean, all
I
that
know.
tells your wife is the work is more important. You decide if that's true or not.
I know, right? It's not, but we will put our time and our focus on what it really is truly more important in our heart. So, and I think that goes back to how you start your mornings, right? And putting your heart focused on God in your mind and putting that time in, and right, making those notes can remind yourself, like listening to your 6 minutes every morning seems like a lot, but let's just say it's 6 times 4, you said, right? It's like almost a half hour of listening
No, 6
every
minutes
morning,
total.
but
6 minutes total. 6 minutes total.
oh, okay. I was like, oh my God.
No.
It's 6 minutes total,
Yeah.
but still, it's not, we could call it manifestation or whatever. I would even lean on the fact is you're reminding yourself what's most important and where you're going.
Right.
And I think that when we wake up with positivity, and I've said this a million times, Justin, like if I did that stupid thing where I said, like, example, it may not be stupid, it actually works. But if I said, hey man, I'm going to show you this room behind me, Justin, I want you to look for everything red. And then I say, okay, close your eyes. And I get, what was blue?
Right.
You're not gonna remember what was blue because it's not your room. You don't see it every day. One, and even if you did see it every day, you'd forget what was blue. But you're always going to look for the negative if that's what you start your day out with is negative. But if you look for God and His kingdom and focusing on what's most important, you will find it. I promise you. You just have to start out that way.
Right, and it just takes
so
reps.
Good.
Boring reps.
It does.
Bible stack, prayer stack. we say Bible stack, prayer stack, chicken and rice. That's our day.
Do you
every
think?
Day.
Would you work out as much if there was zero change ever?
No.
Working out was never about the change.
But to your point,
you never physically changed.
It takes a long time for us to visually see it,
does.
right? So it's not a week. It's not 2 weeks. It's not a month. Especially if your diet
then you see
sucks.
the change, and then you plateau, and then you're like, it's going to take even more work than I've ever taken to even get to where I'm at today. Because you're at 217, you want to get to what, 235? You said
230. I made up the I am vision. We'll see.
I was like, holy.
I think.
Okay, but
220.
It would take something different than took you to get to 217. You're going to have to amp up what you're doing. If you've hit 217 and you're there comfortably now, you're going to have to be uncomfortable to get to the next level now. So
Correct. As
we grow as a person and in our life and in these 4 areas you've identified, man, it's like, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to grow as a being, as a body, a balance, and business, man. It takes a lot to grow. And when you achieve the end of 25 goals, which I actually have faith that you will, which I'm super excited to like hear what they are when you have them done. And then I'm going to cheer you and do whatever I can to assist you to hit those. But then I know you're going to hit them. And the next goal is going to be like
bigger,
scary.
Bigger.
Scary big. Yeah. Scary big.
And that's be unrecognizable and then develop the next version of unrecognizable. Because like if I can see it clearly, and I say see it, but I want to envision it. But if it seems attainable, it's not hard enough. And
Yeah.
that's what
So
you
true.
have to go after. And not just us.
Man.
Like you have the ability to
Yeah.
have employees, push them in these areas. Like
I
connect with them
agree.
on this level. It's not just business. If
Mm-mm.
someone's having an off day, something maybe happened at the crib that you may want to make sure they're okay.
You might want to ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I end this, man, I want to give you an opportunity. Like, is there something else you would like to leave people with? Talk about the standard. Is there any actionable advice? Anything else you want to leave? Man, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, but I want to know. Anything else?
Thank you. No, what I will say is there's a lot of questions, a lot of context. The website is Create the Standard. It's a simple email list right now to make sure that I have everybody's name in order. The first boardroom is November 7th, but I'm not going to sell a single spot to someone outside of what I have now. It's going to be my little dry run through. And then every single month, that thing will be rolling, and that'll be the start as we go into 2025. And I can promise you there's not a better target setting program out there in the insurance game, nor will there be for a very long time until someone copies me, which is fine. But they won't do it as good as me. So
Right.
I'm excited to
Flattering.
I'm excited to change people's lives, not just their
can't wait.
business.
Can't wait to see it, man.
Thanks, man.
I can't wait to see it. So the standard 11-4 or 7, what'd you say?
11/7
November
the first boardroom.
11-7.
I'm hoping
Love
the
that.
t-shirts are in by November 1st, so then I'll start selling slots.
Sweet, man. Well, I know we're going to talk more off air about it, but I can't wait. And I just want to say thanks, man. You've been awesome. Like I've given you a lot of praise today because you deserve it. I think that you're one of those guys that's in my corner that I know looks out for the best in me and doesn't care if I see it his way or not. And that's a good thing. You need that. Like you said earlier, it's my problem. And you've always been one to encourage and help, and doesn't come from a negative place, comes from a good heart. And appreciate you, man. And I can't wait to just cheer you on because I Am the Standard is so cool. Like I am great. I am going to achieve this. I am whatever. I love that. Like I'm excited to see it, man. I think it will revolutionize like the insurance game. And I think it's going to be great, man. Can't wait to hear more. And
thank you.
If you loved this episode, all you listeners out there, please do me a favor. Reach out to Justin, tag him on Facebook, find him on Facebook, Instagram, email him, go to the Create the Standard. Is that what it is?
Yep.
createthestandard.com, sign up for his email list. Make sure to share this with friends, family. But listen, if you didn't listen to episode 20 in season 1, go back and listen to that because we had honestly, one of my favorite conversations in season 1 was with Justin too, because we talked about how important it is to be authentic as a leader and to understand that YouTube and social media has tricked you into mimicking people that don't even know who they are, and you're wanting to be like them. So it's time to find who you are, your authentic self, and Create the Standard is one of those ways. So reach out. Do me a favor before I go. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, turn on auto downloads. It means so much to me and all the listeners because the more people that turn on the auto download is the more episodes I can continue to bring to all of you out there. And honestly, the Conviction of Leader is about sharing people like Justin with the world and giving them a piece of the platform to share what they do to better your leadership journey. Thanks for listening to the Conviction of Leader. My name's Beau. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.